Boom, and we're back. Hello, guys, and welcome to the Building in Perth podcast. I'm your host, Chris Holland. Apologies for the delay. We are running 2 days late for this podcast. My whole family, unfortunately, was quite ill over the weekend, causing a bit of a delay in getting this podcast to you. So I do apologize. I hope that's okay. Now, today's podcast, timber frame vs double brick.
Welcome, property investors. This is the Building in Perth podcast. If you're a property investor or you're curious about investing in property in Western Australia, this is the podcast for you. The reason for that is we're not going to hold back. We're not going to sugarcoat things. We're certainly not going to bullshit you. And we're going to exploit everything that you need to know. There's a lot of negative press at the moment in WA regarding building, and it doesn't have to be. So what we're going to do is help you navigate through that bullshit and create your wealth free of charge. We're just giving you this information. Every month we're going to have special guests on who are industry professionals, and then we're going to release an episode every single Monday. So you're not going to miss anything. So please stay tuned, like, subscribe so you never miss anything, and enjoy.
Today's podcast, timber frame vs double brick. A lot of my social media is pros and cons of each. The market is definitely changing here in Western Australia. Finally, we are getting up with the times of the rest of the world, as well as the rest of Australia. So currently speaking, 74% of homes in Australia, in the whole of Australia, are built out of timber. Over here in WA, we're less than 10%. However, recent figures are showing that is increasing rapidly. Builders such as 𝗕𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗂𝗧𝗏, who's a bricklayer himself, is opting now to build timber frame homes. There's smaller companies called 𝗬𝗏, which is owned by 𝗦𝗲_𝗀𝗏, who was formerly the owner of the Ventura Group, are now building in timber frame homes. There's large companies like the Prime Group, which is Move Homes, and they've got a few other companies under them. These companies all were 500 plus homes a year. Currently, the Prime Group are building through Centurion Steel, and all they've had is dramas and delays, unfortunately. They've actually converted over to some timber frame homes. So look, there is a big shift in the industry, and more people are becoming aware that timber frame has more benefits than double brick construction and or steel. So, which is great for us. Obviously, I've been a big advocate of it for the last 3 years. I've been chatting about it. It seems that finally Perth is catching up. So today I just want to focus mostly on double brick and timber. The reasons for that is steel, not interested really. It creaks, it makes noises, it's manufactured incorrectly. You can't just adjust it on site, not like a brick and or a piece of timber. I'm not going to waste my time in it. I don't see a future in the industry building with steel in residential construction. However, potentially for commercial fit outs and stuff like that, I believe that will be the construction method of choice, is steel walls and partitions and office fit outs and apartment blocks, all that type of stuff. But for the most part, residential construction, I don't believe steel is ever going to really take off. So in short, let's dive into it. So double brick construction, what is double brick? There's a 90mm brick on the outer skin, which sits on a footing, which is an additional cost straight away. There's a 50mm cavity, and then there's another 90mm internal brick. What happens in the internal side of that brick is it gets rendered. So you put a lime, sand, concrete mixture on, which is called float and set. Anywhere between 13 and 20mm thickness, I guess. And then that gets painted. That's your finished product. On the outside, you've got two options, 3 if you want to pay even more money. But option number 1 is just a face brick. So it's a pre-finished brick and it gets laid neat and tidy with no marks on it. And that's called a face brick that comes in many different colors and choices. The second option is it gets rendered, which costs an absolute fortune. So the majority of builders just choose to render the front elevation of the home. You paint it 2 different colors, gives you a bit of transparency. But generally speaking, you won't see a double brick home rendered the complete way around the house, which is the in thing to do at the moment. Number 3, build a double brick home, clad it with timber, and then put some sort of cladding on top of that. So you put battens direct fixed to the brickwork, and then you'll put a cladding of your choice on. Types of cladding, there's about 100, 200. There's so many different cladding choices, which is another reason why timber is becoming more and more popular. Basically, if you go into a house with 100 houses on the street, if it's double brick construction area, it's either going to be a face brick or a rendered wall. That's it. With timber, there's literally hundreds and hundreds of different choices of styles of cladding, and you can make some pretty cool features when it comes to your cladding choices. So that's basically double brick construction. I guess another thing about double brick is due to the design of the home, I guess, the internal walls being brick is solid. That then props up the heavy roof that it holds, meaning if you were to do any alterations to the home afterwards, for instance, knock out the back wall in the kitchen and try and create it into a scullery where the laundry currently is, 9 times out of 10, we're going to have to put a big steel beam up there, rip off the roof, install a steel beam, prop up the roof, and then knock that wall down. You're starting at $15,000 just to delete one wall in your whole house. So alterations after the fact with a double brick construction is quite hard and costly, messy, takes a bit of time, multiple trades needed. Timber frame build, it's just a carpenter goes in, knocks it out, and it takes about 2 hours. So a massive difference in cost when it comes to alterations. So double brick is obviously still the preferred choice in Western Australia currently, but again, as I'm saying, steel and timber are making waves significantly in the market. There is inside whispers that BGC are going to stop all brick construction in 3 years' time. Can't give you that source at the moment. However, BGC are looking into it. BGC are obviously the biggest builder in Perth, and if they are going to do that, the rest of the market will follow. However, luckily for us, we've been harping on about it for years and years and years, and get a bit of a jump on the pack when they all transfer over to timber frame. So basically, let's run through a few pros of timber frame. So based on that discussion of double brick, let's just go the thickness from the outside. So number one, timber frame homes generally don't need footings. Footings normally sit a few courses below the actual slab itself. And it's poured in 2 separate times. With a timber frame construction, it's all poured at once. So if you can imagine a 100 mil thick slab, and then towards the end it tapers off a little bit and drops down to like 450 deep by maybe 600, then that will be your footing, but it's all poured in one movement. This is all obviously specified by the soil report and the engineering. What they request is going to be suitable. But generally speaking, it's a one slab pour rather than 2 different components. So you're saving quite a lot straight off the bat on concrete and earthworks. Because it's a light frame construction, as I was talking about previously with the internal walls in a brick construction house being the main supports for the actual roof structure itself, timber frame generally comes prefabbed on truss form, okay? So trusses basically come out and the weight gets distributed down the 2 outside skins. Meaning, technically speaking, you could just go knock every single internal wall down on a timber frame house, and it would still be fine. It would still stand. Obviously, you've got cables and whatnot in there. I don't advise that, but you could literally knock any wall down, and you could do it within a few hours with minimal fuss and mess. So it's a huge benefit. The external of a timber frame home. There's a new product to the market called NRG, which we are big advocates of. We love NRG. It's got so many benefits. Basically, it's a thick polystyrene panel that goes on the external of your timber frame build. If anyone's interested in seeing this and the benefits of it, mostly the benefits are 25-year guaranteed crack resistance, which you guys know in a double brick build, the render always cracks and you have to repaint it constantly. This is 25 years guaranteed that it's not going to crack. But the insulation values that it gives is just absolutely phenomenal. So these come in different thicknesses, 50 mil, 75 mil, 100 mil, 150, 200 mil. You can use it for reveals. You can use it for paneling out around windows, features, bulkheads, whatever. And basically this gets installed directly onto the timber frame and then it gets rendered with a texture coat finish. So it looks like a double brick home, but it's just far better. It does cost a little bit more, won't deny that, but the extra cost, I guess, that you're going to spend on this, you'll probably make back within a couple of years just on your energy bills, not needing to run your air conditioning constantly. It's another thing, you don't technically need air conditioning in a timber frame home because all year round it floats between 24 and 27 degrees. It doesn't really get hot in summer. It doesn't really get cold in winter, being a natural insulator. So externally, other than that, that's the NRG panel. That's one option. The competitor company to that is called Masterwall. I'm sure you guys have heard of Masterwall. They're worldwide. Basically, it's a replica model of Masterwall, but NRG's just improved a few more things. So we are big advocates at NRG. Don't have anything against Masterwall, but we just think NRG gives the customers a better end product, to be honest. Speed of construction to install the paneling takes days. So a full house, let's say a 4x2 single story, big, 260 square meters, will take about 3-4 days to install, including render as well. So a lot quicker as well, which we're going to get to later on. On top of that, cladding, natural cladding. You can have timber cladding look. You can have a composite cladding look. You can actually put some sort of trim deck or color bond features onto your external walls. If you want that more modernized look, you can mix and match. You can have multiple cladding choices. You can have compressed concrete. You can have James Hardie, which offers its own range of 30 plus products. Basically, there's a style for everyone, whether you want industrial, Hamptons, modern. You can even get brick look, to be honest, if you wanted to. So there's lots and lots and lots of different cladding looks, which generally speaking, when you look at these more modern architecture houses in Cottesloe and whatnot, they're all timber frame with these beautiful big claddings on there. So really something to look forward to if you're going to build a house and you really care about the image of it from the outside. Timber frame and its cladding options are 100% the way to go. Naturally, number 2 is the speed of construction. So timber frame homes get built between 4 to 7 months on average. 4 months, people might actually laugh, but if you just go over and do some research over in Queensland, the average home of a build is 4-5 months only for a timber frame home. Generally speaking, over there, you've got big lots, big plots of land, and they build 25 houses, and it's basically model A, B, or C, similar to what Niche Living do here. But over there, it's the same group of chippies that are just whacking these things up. So you can build 25, 30 houses in 5-6 months. It really is a much more faster way of construction. One thing, just for you guys to understand the difference, when you pour concrete, it has to do a thing called curing. So curing means that concrete never stops getting harder, okay? So if you think of it, when you pour concrete or you see a footpath getting poured and they fence it off, you can't walk on it straight away, right? It's similar to that. So you got to let it sit and basically be stagnant, and we got to keep it cool. We got to put water on it the next day, all this type of stuff. We can even put sand on top of it to help that process, depending on the climate of when we've poured it. But essentially, it's got to sit there and cure. Now, it's advised by the Building Codes of Australia, a double brick construction, depending on the time that you're actually going to pour the concrete, has to sit there from 4 to 6 weeks. Some builders will rush and get bricks delivered straight away. Not advised. Reason for that is the concrete's not went off yet. It's not hard enough to take such a heavy load of bricks on top of it. So generally speaking, my rule of thumb is in winter, I will build on a slab after 4 weeks, just as a rule of thumb. Again, you can also refer to your engineers and stuff like that. But in summer, I actually wait 6 weeks before I lay one brick on that slab. So instantly, just if we go off a 4-week scenario, in the middle of winter, let's say, we're going to wait for 4 weeks. We let it cure. We get the bricks delivered, and then the bricky will start. Average house might take, let's say, 4 weeks, again, as a rule of thumb for a 2x1 team of bricklayers. Obviously, if it rains and stuff, you can't lay bricks in the rain because the cement will go off. So let's say it takes 4 weeks to build a house. That's 8 weeks from slab down, and you're at plate height, which means all your walls have been erected, ready to prepare on the roof. Timber frame build method, if we laid the slab on Monday, probably by Friday, not probably, 100% by Friday, we would be at plate height. So we've gathered 7 weeks on a double brick construction site immediately, just because we don't have to wait as long to start building. The reason for that is a lightweight construction. The weight of a full wall or house in timber form as opposed to brick form is just night and day. So for that reason, immediately you can you can get these things built really quickly. Weather doesn't affect anything with timber frame. If it's raining, if it's too hot, it doesn't stop us from working. Generally speaking, timber frame homes get prefab off-site, brought to site and stood up, fixed in place, braced and whatnot, wrapped, and then put your windows in, all within sort of 3, 4, 5 days. So it is a lot quicker for that department rather than a bricklayer who's mixing mud and a shovel, wheelbarrow around site, building scaffold, standing on it, blah, blah, blah. None of that's needed. So there's a saving on footings, there's a saving on time, there's a saving on scaffold hire, there's a saving on labor. As you know, the brick prices recently have increased significantly. Your houses are costing $10,000 more basically to build on just on labor than what they were 2 years ago. So huge savings, but mostly huge time benefits as well. The reason why it depends on the job, I guess, and which method of timber frame I choose, whether it's a stick build, which means it gets delivered in a bunch of sticks and we construct it on site, or we get them prefabbed off site, delivered in a truck, and then it's erected really quickly. Pros and cons of both, but in short, the reason most of my jobs come prefab, there's no wastage. So at the end of a double brick build, just when the brick is finished, how much bricks are left over? Sand, cement, rubble, paper bags, the cartons that the cement's brought in, ties, offcuts of lintels and whatever else, right? There's so much wastage here in Western Australia when it comes to double brick construction. Normally speaking, after the brick is done, the builder actually has to get a bobcat in to clean that site up and remove it. That's $700. Then it's put into a skip bin and just chucked into the dump. It's not a reusable material. So more often than not, there's actually full packs of bricks that the builders maybe over-ordered to allow for some wastage. It gets just chucked in the bin. I don't know about you, but I don't like wasting things. So when we go the prefab construction method, there's no wastage. Everything's been calculated and built off-site, comes to site, we erect it, stabilize it, bolt it all together, and there's no wastage. So you're saving immediately on a site clean straight away, and again, more time. Not to mention, it's quite dangerous. If you've ever walked through a building site that's getting built in double brick, it's a bomb scare. There's bricks everywhere, there's wheelbarrows, there's mixing trolleys, there's cement boards, there's scaffolding, dodgy scaffolding, good scaffolding, there's ladders, there's grinders, there's brick saws. Like it's just the amount of injuries that happen just from rolling ankles and stuff like that. You got to sweep the floor. Oh, it's just, yeah, it's not advised to be on site when brickies are there. But yeah, with timber frame, there's zero wastage. Literally, there's not one thing that's wasted. It comes to site pre-made off-site, comes to site, you stand, erect it, bolt it all together, brace it, wrap it. There's nothing left over. It's a nice, clean, tidy site for the next trade to come in. Which is my next point. The next trade to come in is the same guys that's just built the wall. So there's no delay. The bricks will finish on Friday. The roof chippy says, yep, I'll be there on Monday, boss. Generally speaking, he's knocked off work early on Friday. He's got to go back and finish that job originally on the Monday that he should have finished on the Friday. Actually takes a couple of days later. He doesn't get back there till Wednesday or Thursday. There's a time delay. So as soon as these walls are built in a timber frame construction, immediately the same people are building the roof. So again, there's no delay. Although it's only 2 or 3 days, imagine over the whole course of a construction with sort of 15 different trades coming in and out. And those 3 days add up massively when you retain the same team that does everything. So another benefit is no wastage left on site, less skip bins and bobcats. Timber's obviously sustainable building material, low production energy, excellent insulation and energy efficiency. For this one, an average 4x2 house is one big pine tree, one forest pine tree. Every time one tree is cut down and used, 3 new trees are planted back straight away. So it's completely sustainable. It's never going to go away. Keeps a lot of people in jobs, and it's a lot of hand labor rather than machinery as such. Think of brick construction, it's clay. It comes from the ground. We dig it out. We use big heavy machineries to dig it out, and immediately it never grows back. So it leaves a big hole in the ground. It just there's so many more benefits. Design materials and stuff like that for designing your actual construction of your home. You can be way more flexible when it comes to timber frame. You can do architecture, you can put curves in it, you can cantilever. Generally speaking, you can have big open wide living areas because the roof is not needed to support it by the internal walls. It's a lot more modern building techniques. You can get offsite modular constructions. If you've seen Summit, they do amazing timber frame pods. And when you're changing a single story into a double story, they actually take the roof off, crane the pod up, and it's pre-done. You could never do any of this with brick. Maintenance after the fact with a timber frame home, given the ground moves and building materials move over the years and years, that's what causes a lot of the brick and cornice cracking on a double brick construction. With timber, because it's timber on timber, it's meant to move, expand and contract ever so slightly. But the fact that the roof and the walls and everything's moving together, there's less damages caused. So there's less maintenance going forward for your build. I could sit here for days and days and days and talk about this if I'm being completely honest. But there's just a few fun facts of why I believe timber frame is going to be the leader in the market in Western Australia within 5 years, why it is the leader in the market in Australia and every other state, and why you should consider building timber over double brick. In short, it's a lot quicker. It's not always as cheap as double brick. In some cases, depending on your cladding choice and stuff like that, it can be a little bit more. But what you're going to save in the construction time of a 6-month build, as opposed to a 12-month build, knowing that you're going to be making interest-only repayments every single week, that works out to be $20,000 to $40,000 more based on a $600,000 house package. Okay, so think of that. As you're paying your rent, as you're paying your mortgage, during construction for 12 months with a double brick construction, which is about the average. It can obviously be longer. There's horror shows out there at the moment that are taking 2 years plus. But that repayment's coming out every single week, regardless whether you like it or not. It's going straight to the bank. If we can build your house in 6 months and save all that money and put it back into the build, then you benefit. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Like, subscribe, give me as many comments as you can. I love the feedback that I'm getting at the moment. It's amazing. But most importantly, thank you guys so much. We've had 4 new customers sign up in the last fortnight from this podcast that wants to take advantage of our expertise, and we're happy to help anyone else. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Cheers. Bye.